Welcome. I am Frank Matulis, a board member for TACID. It gives me great pleasure to have you join us for our first ever virtual fundraising event. Just a few quick points to make before we begin. We acknowledge that this event is taking place on the indigenous lands of the Puyallup tribe of the Coast Salish people of the Pacific Northwest, who cared for their ancestral lands before the Medicine Creek Treaty of 1854. Our sponsors for tonight's events are Waddell & Reed and Connolly Law, Timberland Bank, and Madcap Marketing. We are very grateful for their sponsorships and their unwavering support during this unusual transition from a live event to a virtual event. Thank you. If you have any issues viewing or hearing this event, please go to the bottom of the screen and click on Chat. Once you are there, type what you're having a challenge with into the chat box, and our IT support will provide guidance to help you solve the problem. If that feels too complicated, please call our main number at 253-565-9000 and ask for IT support assistance, and Joanna or John will help you. If you have questions or need clarification about TACID or anything you hear during the event, go to the bottom of the screen, click on Chat, and Barbara, Genevieve, or Patty will respond to you. If you know of someone that would like to see this event, do not fear. We are recording this event and will have an electronic version that can be sent to them. Again, please type your request in the chat and we will get in touch with you after the event. Lastly, please relax and enjoy. This is different for all of us and change can be challenging, but we're thrilled to have you and we hope you will be inspired by what you see and hear. Again, thank you for joining us. We're glad you're here. Let the inspiration begin.
Good evening. I'm Nola Renz, Executive Director of TACID. We're so excited to have this time to share about our place of acceptance with you. TACID is a remarkable place that provides acceptance, hope, and support to adults experiencing a disability. We offer non-traditional options for these adults that not only consists of a variety of services, but that also creates a safe, welcoming community. And we do this differently as well. All of our staff at TACID have a disability themselves or have lived with someone who does. Each of our direct service staff members completed the classes and oral boards to become licensed through the state of Washington as certified peer support specialists. Mesa Winter, our Wellness and Recovery Program Manager, holds an MSW and is also a certified peer support specialist. All of this brings a different understanding and awareness to the work being done at TACID. It also creates a very high degree of acceptance, which is so critical to our culture and work. We all know that this has been a very challenging year. The pandemic really caught each of us off guard. This required us to rapidly change everything to a remote venue in order to protect participants, staff, and volunteers. The change has been dramatic for participants who enjoyed the occasional pat on the back, a helping hand, or a hug as they move through their recovery. Now they rely on our phone calls, conference calls, and Zoom group meetings. This has been a time of learning, trying new things, and working diligently to find ways of engaging more of our existing participants while also welcoming newcomers to our virtual services. For several years, we had discussed developing virtual groups, most specifically for those who could not travel to TACID. In the process, we have learned that many participants, current and eligible, do not have internet access or the funds to pay for it, or equipment that facilitates them joining our groups. And some of our participants are very cautious and extremely anxious about trying this new way to receive services. If you've done a virtual doctor's appointment or counselor's appointment, you know that it is very uniquely different, and change is very hard for many of our people. However, we are doing our best to keep our groups we offer solid and consistent, and our one-to-one phone calls private and consistent. We're honest and clear with our participants, just like we were when we were seeing them in person. In 2019, the staff and board began doing serious work to ensure that TACID is grounded in diversity, equity, and inclusion. During these months, this work has continued, and we are excited with what we are learning and how it is impacting each of us, the work we do, and the policies, procedures, and practices that guide us. Truly, acceptance is the heart of TACID. While going virtual has had challenges, it has also provided an opportunity for us to look at providing new groups for young adults 3 times per week. These new groups will be a pilot and work with young adults ages 18 to 26, representing a diverse racial spectrum. This is exciting work and will continue both virtually and in person when we are once again able to open the doors of TACID. All of the work that is going on makes us realize the high need to also find ways to provide those tools to those who need them so they are able to fully participate. We're working to connect and partner with entities who have high quality equipment and resources for our participants. And as always, everything we provide continues to be free to our participants. One thing beyond the shadow of a doubt is that we're looking forward to welcoming our participants back, to having all of our groups, our adaptive yoga and other wellness classes, our intuitive art and recovery group, our active day room where friendships are kindled and grow, and our potlucks, which everyone loves. As you listen to our speakers, I hope you're refreshed and encouraged, as well as interested in investing in the work of TACID. Up next are our speakers, who are staff members, Barbara, Lisa, and Walter, each sharing about their unique journey to TACID and what they found here. Thank you. Enjoy.
One of the things my parents have always stressed about respecting others was that we are all equal in the sight of God. The main message being to treat others with dignity no matter who they are. I have held on to the belief that regardless of a person's race, creed, heritage, status, and ability, everyone is deserving of my respect. Upon entering the workforce, I found that not all people have the similar values as my own. In early years, as a child, I was looked down upon because of my mixed heritage. I wasn't accepted by any race, not even my own. As I got older and started working, I began to see inequalities in pay and noticed that I was not given the same opportunities to advance as others were. Working in corporate businesses demonstrated problems relative to inclusion and acceptance. These stemmed from my being Black, and no one ever recognized my Asian heritage, being a woman and then later a Muslim. In the years following, I was dealing with mental and physical changes, some becoming progressively worse. After being laid off in 2008, I began applying for different jobs. Having to walk was difficult due to joint issues, and then I was not using a cane or a walker. By the time I would get to the interviews, I would be in pain and also out of breath. I could automatically tell I would not be hired just by the expressions on the interviewers' faces, not only during interviews but other scenarios. Not being accepted was painful, whether expressed directly or indirectly. There was a job opening at Tacit in July of 2008. When I arrived for the interview, I immediately noticed that no one was focused on my physical ability. I felt accepted and comfortable during the interview. When I left, I felt wonderful. No one judged me on my appearance or my physical state. After being hired, I felt a huge sense of relief in knowing that I could be myself. Just the fact that I was not looked down upon for any reason, not for my race, gender, religion, and mostly not for my disabilities, increased my status as a human being. On July 8th, 2008, my position as a front desk receptionist began. Being at the front desk allowed me to meet and know several of our participants. And in that too, I learned more about the world of Tacit. It was freeing and special. In our conversations, we had all grown very close, and there were great moments of laughter and friendly chit-chat, none of which hindered on race, religion, or ability. That solidified my belief that we are all equal and that acceptance is valuable and worthy of recognition. As my journey continued, I was given opportunities to expand my knowledge to better support staff and participants. In early 2013, I enrolled in the Certified Peer Counselor training sponsored by DSHS. I completed my certification shortly after. In August of that year, I was offered the position of Information and Referral Specialist. And since the participants knew me, they felt comfortable to stop by with their requests. This not only helped me to easily transition into my role, but it also presented me ability to provide resources to participants and others in Pierce County, which gave me a sense of purpose. I do wear a few hats in my position, mainly as the Information and Referral Specialist, but I also manage room reservations and room reports for our funders. My life at Tacit has been full and rewarding. If it had not been for Tacit, I would not have found my real self or the courage to represent myself as I am. In addition to this, I see that others, staff, participants, and volunteers alike, are also not judged. This further increases my self-awareness and hope that maybe other places will become this way. I can truly say being here has been life-changing for me, and I am looking forward to even more growth in the future.
My journey to Tacid began surrounded by enormous grief and loss. I was a caregiver for my 96-year-old grandmother, who I called Gram, and my aunt, who had recently had a stroke about 3 years prior. When my Gram passed away, I knew I couldn't take care of my aunt on my own, so I found an assisted living facility for her to live. At that point, I was alone with my grief and depression. My counselor told me about TACID and the Hope for Depression support group. I remember when I first came to TACID, I didn't know what to expect. When it came my turn to talk, I just started crying and trying to tell my story. I kept going to the group and kept crying. The more I went, the less I cried. I was able to hear other people's stories and realize that I wasn't alone with my depression, that other people had some of the same feelings. Just knowing that I wasn't alone was so encouraging to me. I found hope at TACID. Hope that it wouldn't always be like that. The sadness, grief, and depression slowly started to lift. I realized my Gram wouldn't want me to be sad all the time. She would want me to go out there and find what makes me happy. As I came to a point of feeling solid and grounded again, I began considering what I might do with my future. Since I wasn't going to be a caregiver anymore, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had an amazing employment specialist peer counselor named Alana. At that time, I didn't know what a peer counselor was exactly, but she kept sharing her story with me, and at one point I asked her if that was appropriate. My therapist never talked about her life with me. She always kept the focus on me and my goals and my treatment plan. Alana said, "Well, that's my job." She began to explain that is what a peer counselor does. Shares their story to help inspire hope and resiliency with others so that people know they are not alone. I was ecstatic to find that there was an actual paying job out there like this. I had always been in retail and most recently worked as a veterinary office for about 8 years. As much as I love animals, I could feel myself getting burnt out. After several discussions and considerations, I began exploring the idea of becoming a licensed CPC, or Certified Peer Counselor, through the state of Washington. I wasn't sure I could do it, but I actually found that my life experiences had really prepared me for it. Once I completed my certification through the state, I began considering what I might be able to do with it, and I loved what had happened for me at TACID. One of the requirements of the certification is that you do an internship. I knew TACID was looking for certified peer counselor interns. I hurried and got my resume, cover letter, and test score from the class I took over to the wellness and recovery manager right away. Before I knew it, I was part of the internship. The internship taught me so much. I remember after attending a drum circle at TACID as an intern, I turned to my fellow intern and said, "Do you believe they get paid for drumming?" The next thing I know, there's a job opening at TACID for a CPC. I was so excited. Again, I quickly got my resume, cover letter, and anything else I needed to apply for the job. I can still remember the day Nola called me and told me that I got the job. It was one of the happiest days of my life. After a few months of getting my feet wet at TACID, Mesa, my wellness and recovery supervisor, asked me if I would be interested in facilitating a grief support group at TACID. She said that participants had been asking for it for a while now, and she thought that I would be a good fit for it. My mom had passed away about 15 years prior, and with the recent loss of my gram, my dad, and many cats and a little dog, she thought I would be able to relate and share my resiliency with others. I was very eager to share my story of grief, hope, and help others to know that grief isn't something you just get over. It's a journey. Mesa let me pick a name for the group. I chose Journey Through Grief because I believe that you go on a journey through it and you can come out the other side stronger and more resilient. Grief isn't just when you lose a person. It can also be a pet, a house, a divorce, anything. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share my story and help inspire others. And now I feel like I have learned so much. I feel so grateful for all that has come from TACID. And I get to help inspire others and stand by them through their own journeys. And I so enjoy seeing people grow and learn. I know this time is really difficult for everyone we serve. We can't wait to see our participants again and work face to face with them.
Hi, I'm Walter, a CPC at TACID, but I didn't start out in that role. I actually came to TACID several years ago as a volunteer part-time receptionist. Prior to that, I worked in the banking industry for 11 years, which ended with the housing crash in 2008. I have worked in a variety of jobs, but I've always enjoyed working to support people. And in my part-time temporary position at TACID, I got to do that as well as experience an amazing accepting community. You can't even imagine how happy I was when I was offered a permanent full-time position at TACID, and then later encouraged to complete my certified peer support training. I have to say that working at TACID and becoming a CPC are two of the greatest accomplishments in my life. To know I am equipped with the tools to be a solid support for our participants and the coming young adult group is amazing. Doing this training helped me own and understand many traumatic experiences in my life. It helped me move forward with my own healing, growing and understanding, and accepting and stepping into a path of loving myself, which was very hard. I completed the training and I used the tools in my work as a coordinator for Room 2, which was a large variety of participants. Doing, sharing, learning, teaching make up a big part of my work. As I move forward with TACID during COVID-19, I'm excited as we prepare for a pilot program where we will work with a group of young adults who are transitioning to TACID. This group will support these young adults who have suffered through traumatic experiences and need weekly reminders that someone is there to listen and to support them. These conversations will focus on important issues and concerns that they're experiencing now, while also sharing possible solutions and providing support through these times. My hope for this population as they transition to TACID is that they will feel the love and acceptance I feel from our staff, and they will continue to bring peers to receive hope and resources TACID has to offer. In order to support their community, some may reach to the point in their recovery where they want to engage with working with others through becoming a certified peer counselor themselves. I have found that TACID is different than other places I've worked. I found a work environment that truly cares for the health and welfare of disabled participants, as well as an open invitation from our executive director, Nola, Renz, who actively participates in supporting participants. Mesa, Barb, Corey, Tammy, Patty, and Alan all share their heart and suggestions when we are working with participants together. Another surprising thing, our interaction with the board of directors, where we have an opportunity to discuss what happens on the ground, to know that they hear us and make decisions to support us based on our input is amazing. I have never experienced that in any job. Also, to participate with the board and development of the dreams and aspirations of Tacit. Its future is amazing. There's a beating heart that is Tacit, and an energy that makes me want to be at work, which is rare. That Tacit has made strides to accommodate and understand the reality of diversity, including these things that I face as an African American man. This is a relief. I have not been without support through these horrifying events that have yet devastated our community again. I've been heard here at Tacit by our staff and our board, who have been learning and making changes as together we look inside of the world of the Black community at the disparities and inequities suffered silently for centuries. The great thing about Tacit is that these conversations started well before the current events. Now I see myself as a member of an amazing group of board staff and participants at Tacit who dispel the world's stereotypes, who are always open and about the realities of the lives that we live, and a display of how we impact each other's lives daily. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara, Lisa, and Walter, for sharing your stories. Hi, I'm Ann James, and I'd like to add my welcome and thanks to all of you for being here with us tonight. I'm fortunate to have been involved with Tacit for the past 4 years as a board member, and I'm currently the board president and chair of the board development committee. With my background as an occupational therapy professor and as a clinician practicing in home care with people with neurological disabilities, I have found Tacit to be really important to this community. I've been engaged with individuals with disabilities in nearly a dozen different communities on the East Coast, West Coast, and Midwest, and I can tell you that Tacit is unique. Tacit welcomes all individuals who are differently abled. There's no cost, and the staff in widely varied programs meet participants just where they are to support them in their journeys. Through my interaction with Tacit participants and some of my students who volunteered here, I know that Tacit has really made a difference to individuals in our community on many levels. Today you heard from Barbara, Lisa, and Walter about their journeys to Tacit and how it's impacted their lives. Their stories are filled with hope, determination, resilience, and change. Thank you all again for putting a face on the work that goes on at Tacit day in and day out. Serving as a board member for Tacit is extremely rewarding. Although this year has created unique challenges, the staff at Tacit have stepped up to provide as much as they can for our participants. I'm impressed by the work they've done to serve participants remotely, and the experience, while difficult for all, will enable Tacit to reach people who may not be able to travel even when the pandemic winds down and we return to our important face-to-face programs. I feel privileged to be part of the Tacit team as we engage in the great work of Tacit year after year, and I'm excited about what the future holds. Obviously, this is a fundraiser, and we want to be transparent about asking for your financial support. You probably tuned in today because a friend invited you, or because you already know and appreciate Tacit's good work. We're hoping that now that you've heard the full Tacit story and met some of our wonderful staff and board, you will want to make a financial investment. Every community should have a Tacit, but they don't. And we want to make sure the residents of Pierce County can access this unique organization in the months and years to come. I'm retired, so I am acutely aware of how many great places there are for our limited funds. But I'm choosing to continue to contribute money to Tacit because it's one of the most important investments we can make in this community. And as a board member, I can assure you your contributions will go directly to enhance the services for Tacit participants. When considering the ask this year, we wanted to make it clear that the financial support we receive today will go to our day-to-day operations. Unfortunately, there are thousands of adults right here in our incredibly successful community who need the support, empowerment, and accepting community of Tacit to enable them to live their lives to the fullest level possible. Your support can help us as we work to reach these adults and serve them well into the future. There are a few ways to consider giving to Tacit. For a stronger foundation for expanding programs and providing a stable future, we have developed the Empowering Abilities Giving Society. Those of you who are part of this society are greatly appreciated for your commitment to Tacit. Today, I'm inviting those of you who were unable to make that commitment last year to consider becoming a part of our Empowering Abilities Giving Society. We're going to share the screen with you for a minute, which shows our pledge sheet and what you will see if you click on Donate for our fundraiser. If you look at the top of the pledge sheet, you will see the Empowering Abilities pledge levels. The names give you a sense of what your contribution can do. Contributions go toward the unrestricted operating funds of Tacit. The first giving level in the Empowering Abilities Giving Society is a pledge of $1,000 each year for 5 years. We call this our peer supporter level because $1,000 is about what we need to fund 2 participants for a year. At an average of just $83 a month, less than a latte a day, your gift would enable us to provide programs and services to 2 participants each year for each of the next 5 years. The next giving level, our Ability Advocate, is a donation of $5,000 a year for 5 years. As an Ability Advocate, you would cover the expense of all programs, activities, and services for 10 participants annually, supporting 50 participants through your full 5-year pledge. We know that some of you may be contributing on behalf of a company or foundation, or may just be in a position to give more. If so, consider becoming an Empowering Champion, which lets you have a far-ranging impact on the lives of adults who are differently abled in our community. With a gift of $10,000 a year for 5 years, you will provide a major boost to Tacit. A gift at this level would fully cover the expenses of one of our primary groups for a year, providing critical support for 12 to 18 people and freeing up funds to provide additional needed services or groups for other participants. We also have a special line for you right under the boxes described above that provides an opportunity for you to increase the number of years of your pledge and/or the amount of your pledge. If either of those are of interest to you, please write your changes on that line. If you are joining me today as a member of the Empowering Abilities Giving Society, my personal thanks for your generous support. Although I started by introducing the Empowering Abilities Giving Society, we know and respect that you may prefer to give at a different level, and you can make your pledge on the next line. Please let us know how much you would like to give and for how many years. Whatever level of support you can provide, please make the first payment today. Finally, it's also possible to give a gift of stock or something else, or you may simply have some great ideas for us. If so, please click on the chat at the bottom of the screen and type in your name and number with "Please contact me, I have other thoughts to share." Nola will give you a call back next week. Whatever gift you've chosen to make today, whether you have become a member of the Empowering Abilities Giving Society, made a gift at a different level, or have given the gift of your valuable time to attend, we sincerely thank each and every one of you on behalf of the adults we serve. Again, we really appreciate that you took time out of your busy lives to be here for our first ever virtual fundraising event and to learn more about TACID. Thank you and have a great evening.